my lovely subscribers, my amazing cybernauts. You are welcome to today's episode on Sustainary Energia channel. Good day to you all, dear subscribers, especially you subscribers, and to other viewers. I welcome you to my channel. I'll advise you to please subscribe because your subscriptions go a long way to make us know that there are people who can't wait to see the next episode. However, we thank you all for viewing because there's some people who prefer viewing, but please, we still need your subscriptions. I welcome you again if you are an old subscriber. Yet if you are brand new, I welcome you to this channel as my freshman. You're welcome to Sustainary Energia channel. I am Egbe Eyong Akumbe. I am an expert in energy, natural resources, and sustainable development law. So whenever you come to this channel, it means that you are interested in knowing about energy, natural resources, and sustainable development law. In our last episode, we started talking about tax expenditures. We actually talked about it in the general way, although generally we're looking at it in terms of mining and particularly in terms of hydrocarbons. So today I want to first give a very small history of the origin of these tax expenditures. Then I talk of its different forms. So let's go. Tax expenditures were first talked about by Professor Stanley Surrey. Professor Stanley Surrey was the Assistant Secretary to the United States Treasury as at 1967. Now, he laid emphasis on tax expenditures because he had two things he wanted to make clear. He wanted to prove that there were some taxes that had very little control, and he also wanted to prove that there were some taxes which were absolutely unknown. Now, in proving those particular 2 points, what he wanted to use was that he had in mind that in examining tax expenditures, he was going to prove that it was a capital exercise which could go a long way to bring some major options of the country into a situation where they could express themselves. This said, we are now exposed to his goals. What were his goals? Talking about the country expressing itself through tax expenditures as a capital exercise. What did he mean? Now, his goal was to attract the attention of the public authorities to the fact that certain parts of the text or legislative text on taxation had to be reviewed. Having in mind that they should review it was not enough. How was that going to be done? The very first thing was that he had to incite a reform. By inciting a reform, he was going to provoke a reorientation of the tax system. That exactly is what he wanted. It means that he wanted something that would provoke or will instigate a reform. So you see, it is exactly what we're talking about in our last episode when we're saying that we needed to revise some of our laws on taxation. We even mentioned the accounts where the money is given for reinstatement of sites after a certain mining activity, where the money was kept. The accounts had to be the modalities had to be reviewed. This is a very similar situation as at 1967. Can you imagine? Way back. So the Professor Stanley Surrey already had this whole thing in mind. This tax system looks beautiful, but it's not good enough. So if I incite a reform, then there will be a possibility for a reorientation of the tax system or a reform of the tax system. This exactly was his goal. Now, we should ask ourselves that when the tax system gets reoriented, what does he gain? He gains a reform. To reorient something it just means that you are revising it so that you reprogram it, you rearrange it. Basically, that's what he had in mind. And so the tax system was going to function in a way that he was going to prove that it could be a wonderful source of revenue leverage. So that's what he had in his mind: revenue leverage through the tax system, through a good tax system. That's just it. So this brings us to the end of this brief history on tax expenditures, source, and the goal. Now we get to the different forms of tax expenditures. Getting to the different forms of tax expenditures, I'd like you to know that there are basically four that I want to advance today. I want us to look at tax reduction as one of the forms of tax expenditure. We are also going to look at a reduction of the tax base. We are going to, they call it assiette fiscale, that's a tax base. We are going to look at base as for basis. We are going to look at a reduction of the tax rate. And then we're also going to look at exoneration from taxes. Now this exoneration, which means exclusion from taxes, could either be complete exoneration or it could be partial exoneration. So to go back very quickly through these different forms of tax expenditures, I have tax reduction, I have tax exoneration, complete or partial, I have a reduction in tax base, and I have a reduction in tax rate. Those are the four forms of tax expenditures. So hoping that this brief history on tax expenditures and the different forms of tax expenditures were of good help, I will be coming to you in my next episode with something a lot more lucrative as well. Now, to you as a consultant, you will notice that these tax expenditures, the different forms of it, could be very profitable to you. Bringing it into a multinational company where you are their consultant, you are their counsel, you go a long way to helping you show them where they could benefit from exoneration of taxes, where you could make them benefit from reduction of tax base, reduction of tax rates, and reduction of tax altogether. Now, if you are for the multinational, if you are for the host country, your interest should be to help them see where they could recover the unknown taxes, and also where they could pay attention to the very little, to those taxes which are said to have very little control. How are we going to pay attention, and how are we going to ensure that we do not lose out money, even though there's very little possibility of controlling such taxes? So whether you are counsel to the host country or to the multinational company, this episode is amazing for you. So just know how you're using it and have a wonderful time. Hope my episode was quite beneficial to you. I'm waiting for you on emails, inbox, whichever social media handle you choose to use. I'm available for the answers and discussions, of course. Have a wonderful time. Again with you is Egbe Ayon